people ask us all the time if they can intern or be a part. And we never hire anybody who we don't pay. I think that's fair.
That is fair.
We've never, ever used a free hour labor because of all of these reasons. Nobody values it. And we don't even do free anymore. We used to, at the very beginning, we would have friends ask us for stuff. And we'd say, all right, we'll do it. But we don't even do that anymore. Not even for friends, because nobody values it.
Well, I also would never ask a friend for free. We go to their restaurants and we don't
pay.
tell them that we're coming because we'll pay.
Yeah.
Like that's friendship. You respect the fact that somebody's making a living off of something and you pay for what you use.
Yeah, and we talk to, people are gonna, there are some of you that I know you're gonna hate this in the comments section, but we basically don't believe in volunteering. And I know there's a literature that it's good for some people, but in that literature, they're stripping out all of the people that it is terrible for. And those are people who could get paid for giving the same amount of hours somewhere else, and they're not. And it's for organizations who, with a little bit more work, could figure out how to pay people for what they're relying on volunteers for. And as Cindi said, like, there's places we work and people are getting paid and they can't get them to show up on time. And so you can imagine what happens
when it's free.
Oh, yeah. And sometimes people will talk to us. In many cases, we're talking to people as they're thinking about retiring and leaving an organization. And you could speak for yourself, but when people tell me that their plan is to volunteer, I basically am like, all right, well, let's think through that. How do you think that's actually going to work? Who do you know who's done that? And what did they do? Well, they started and then they, after a couple weeks or months, they didn't. Okay, well, why? Maybe you should, why don't you talk to that person about why they quit? And it's often, not always, but it's some version of what you described of why am I doing this? Mm-hmm. I got up, I did my hair.
Not
I have
being fully
all
utilized.
This to contribute, and you have me sit around for the first hour because your stuff isn't together. Whereas if you were paying me, your stuff would be together.
Well, it would be more likely to be together, but at least if it wasn't together, I'd still be getting paid.
Yeah.
And that helps a great deal.
Yeah. Yeah. And so we've come to the point of the podcast where I guess it's fair for us to disclose. I think we're anti-volunteer. Should I disclose that? I think my aunt's going to be upset, but we talk about what our future is going to look like, and it's not going to have volunteering in it. At this point in our life, we reserve the right to change. But our specialty is organizations, and volunteers aren't valued, has been our experience. Is that fair? People are going to hate that.
No, they're not valued. Anybody who's volunteered, they know that. Now, I will say that, like, your mom, when she went out on, after she retired, she went out on her own and she formed a nonprofit and basically planted esplanades.
Yeah.
And that, I feel like, is on her end a little different because that was just, first of all, she created it. And so it was something she wanted to do. And so I think then, because you're in control over it, you don't feel, it doesn't feel as bad.
And we're pro nonprofit. We're pro nonprofit. I have a nonprofit because I started it before we had any success, because if we had any success, I wanted to force myself to serve people who couldn't pay the full price. But importantly, that nonprofit does not rely on volunteers.
No.
We put money into that, and then we pay people to provide the service. And so people are getting paid. And so it's not volunteering. There's no volunteers in that. My sister has a nonprofit, but it's paying her people very well. My mom created a nonprofit to fill a need that she saw, and she basically funded that herself. That one was different because the labor that relied on was basically cleaning up a part of the city. That relied on probationers.
Right.
And so they were not volunteers either.
No, they were getting their hours checked out.
Yeah. I think we're okay. We love nonprofits. There should be nonprofits. We work for some great nonprofits. Our beef isn't with not making a profit. We're not.
No, if you're going to do a nonprofit, be fair to the people who are doing the labor for your your for-profit. Yeah.
Pay people.
Nonprofit.
Pay people money. All you nonprofits.
Don't hide behind a nonprofit shield and not pay people to do work that you should and any other organization would pay people to do the work.
Yeah.
And don't delude yourself into thinking that volunteers are a solution to actual employees, because volunteers are going to treat you exactly the way that you have treated them. And since you're not paying them, they're going to treat you like you.
Yeah.
They get to do whatever they want for you.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, eventually, I give you an example of how this plays out, even in the unicorn case. And so there's a place that we work, and there was a young man who wanted to, it's a healthcare, and he wanted to go into healthcare. And so very young, he started volunteering at this healthcare, and they took a chance on him, and he would show up every day for like an hour and a half to 2 hours after school and volunteer. And he was punctual, and he would do anything they asked. And in the beginning, they gave him crap work, and he did that without complaining. And after a period of weeks, they started giving him a little more work, and he was able to do that. And so this thing plays out over 8 or 9 months, and they realize this guy shows up. He can do more than just the grunt stuff. And so and this is a good organization, within 10 months or so, they're like, all right, we're going to start paying you. And he can't take the money because of his age, and he didn't want to take the money. And so he's like, no, just keep me as a volunteer. And so now fast forward, he's been doing that for probably 1.5 years now, and he won't take the money from the organization, and they feel terrible. And he won't not show up, and they don't want to fire him. But it's this, even when you have a unicorn, eventually a lot of places, your conscience is going to get to you. You're going to want to do something to acknowledge that in the other person. I went for years wanting to do a study of, the airports that we're in all the time, the ambassadors.
Yeah.
And I'm like, who does that job? Who goes to an airport to...
Yeah, I could see how people do that in hospitals. They'll go in and they'll be the greeters. But who does that at an airport?
You know what I found out?
They get paid. That's who does that. It should be a job.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't volunteer, people. That's what Cindi says, not me. Put it, if you don't like this, put it in the comments. But that's Cindi. She started it.
How many of you in the comments, how many of you have tried volunteering and it was a waste of your time?
You're a waste of your time. Like Cindi with Habitat for Humanity. That's what, now I understand where this whole thing came from. You're still mad about Habitat for Humanity having you pick up trash.
Oh, I didn't pick up trash.
You left.
I left.
Did you take one of their T-shirts?
No, I didn't have that. I don't even think they had the T-shirts there. Anyway, they handed me a trash bag. I said, I didn't come here for this.
Oh.
And they said, well, that's all we got. So I just dropped the trash bag and walked off.
Nice. All right. Now I know where this came from. You got Habitat for Humanity. You're the only person who ever's got PTSD from Habitat for Humanity.
I don't have PTSD. I'm just not going to let somebody abuse my time.
All right. Anything else you want to talk about?
No, that's it.
All right.
Thanks for joining us today. We'll be back next time. Hope you're there.
Yep. Subscribe, people. Subscribe, nerds. Yep.
That's your volunteering for the day.
That's it, right. Volunteer to us. We'll pay you in, what do we pay you in? Karmic, psychic tokens.
Reddit credits.
Reddit credit. Psychic tokens, nerd. You can use it for your next edition of Farmville.